Mario Miranda, the cartoonist par excellence from Goa, the enviable beach resort of the Arabian Sea on the west coast of Indian Peninsula. Mario is an exceptional artist and a gifted cartoonist with inexhaustible passion for watching people of all ages, all kinds, classes and colors in pretty large numbers. He loves to draw them in their varied attires, moods and manifestations on different occasions and on a variety of locations. One would often wonder as to what exactly fascinates Mario in all these people. Is it their expressions, behavior, or their culture in general?
It's not that I love the people to that extent. On the contrary, I like to watch people, but from from a safe distance. I wouldn't like to be part of the crowd, but I like to observe them from far, whether it's the airport or a railway station or a street scene. I enjoy watching people and their behavior, their attitude, and their features. And luckily, in India, people have very distinct features, and a variety of faces. You go to Japan and China, most of them look the same. But India, as you travel from north to south, there's a rich variety of quality of facial expressions, color, behavior, dress, food habits. I mean, I love to watch. I have a good meal at a South Indian restaurant and watch them eat. I mean, somebody in Kerala eats the food different from, say, a Punjabi in the north, and that sort of thing fascinates me. And sometimes I try to put too much in one drawing, which is bad, I think. It's a bad habit, which sometimes I try to get rid of. But there are times when I feel that blank space helps the drawing. It brings out a character. And too much of crowded things maybe sometimes kill a drawing. It depends. It depends on the time also. If we have time to spare, I tend to keep on adding little things and that sort of thing. And if I have a deadline to keep, then I make my drawings very brief, not much detail because of the lack of time.
Understood. So when he has enough time, a lot of people are accommodated in his pictures. And this is what is produced when he doesn't have that much time. Undoubtedly, no one else could portray the Goan mood and environment so effectively as Mario could in most of the sketches he drew on Goa, his native soil. Mario is a cartoonist of explosive style, entertaining humor, and enchanting colors. Mario loves to do a lot of illustrations and life sketching, and this unending interest in Mario has taken him to a lot of beautiful places in India and around the world. Although an equally endowed illustrator, artist, and a cartoonist himself, Mario's interest in these fields is not so equally spread. He has his own reasons for that.
Well, sketching, illustrations, and cartooning, frankly, I would prefer sketching. That means which I would permit me to draw whatever I like at whatever time I wanted it. I could choose the subject, and which has enabled me to travel quite a bit and see different places and different situations. And that's the sort of thing I enjoy very much. And more than just doing cartoons or illustrating other people's work. There are certain authors who I enjoy illustrating, like Ruskin Bond and Manohar Malgaonkar, Domerez, because their text is so vivid that it's a pleasure to put it down on pen and ink and illustrate whatever they've written. That sort of thing I enjoy.
While one could capture such a beautiful location on a camera film, what makes Mario to do such an elaborate sketch so colorfully?
You see, the camera does, of course, capture but something is lacking. And that can be only done if you're there, present, and you're physically present. And your drawing turns out to be much better if you actually visit the place instead of just using photographs and all that. If I go somewhere and if there's absolutely no time, I might take a photograph of some detail or something. But the entire drawing is because I'm there, physically there. And it comes out much better.
Mario Joao Carlos Rosario de Brito Miranda, in short, Mario Miranda, the eminent cartoonist of India, was born in Lotel, Goa, to Constancio Rosario de Miranda and Maria Zulema de Miranda on 2nd May 1926. Interestingly, Mario was a born artist.
Even as a kid, I used to draw all the time, and I used to draw on the walls, much to my grandmother's getting very angry about it. And my walls were covered with the drawings and things like that, until my mother gave me a blank book so that I could sketch whatever I wanted. And I kept these like a diary. I used to sketch everything, what happened every day. That's how I started. That's how I started drawing, actually. My mother sketched very well. My father, they were not professional artists, but they had the knack of. They were very artistically minded. And as I drew, I experimented, and so that helped a lot. I never studied art. I had no art education at all. So these diaries and this thing helped me a lot. And I learned through my mistakes, my trial and error methods.
Mario's childhood recollections helped him in illustrating various books on child psychology effectively as well as humorously. His family had discovered his talent as a budding artist while he was still a child.
Actually, the discovery, besides my mother and all that, my brother was the one who used to take these diaries and show it to various people. And he was a great fan of my work. And so it became quite well known, especially life in the village, in this particular village.
Did he start cartooning at such a young age itself?
Not exactly. Yes, I used to like to draw people. You know, going up to the church and sketching priests and fisherwomen, and characters in the village, in the tavern, the bars. I enjoy doing that.
Although he grew up as an artist right from his childhood, actually Mario didn't have any serious plans to settle in life as an artist or as a cartoonist when he was in his teens. With an intention to pursue his studies, to join the civil services maybe, Mario moved to Bombay.
I joined St. Xavier's College in Bombay to do my BA with the intention of joining the the IAS and follow the career as a bureaucrat most probably. But during my college days, I used to draw cartoons for pocket money on a freelance basis. And I used to contribute to Current magazine, the Illustrated Weekly of India, Free Press, and things like that. And I began to enjoy this idea of doing cartoons. So finally, I gave up the idea of IAS and joined the Times of India group, and I became a cartoonist. I didn't have plans to become a cartoonist; it just happened. But I'm glad it happened. I think I'm a better cartoonist than I would have been a bureaucrat in the IAS or something like that.
Thanks to Mario for his daily pocket cartoon feature in Economic Times on Office Atmosphere, with his sizzling cartoon character, Ms. Fonseca, for generating a tickling start in the offices and business houses all over the country every morning.
I created this character called the boss and the secretary, Ms. Fonseca. And there is this head clerk, or we might call him a head clerk, called Godbole, who secretly is in love with Ms. Fonseca. That's typical, it's a typical office scene, which I imagine in any office in India. Now, Hindi films, I'm not a great Hindi film goer, but I find a lot of material for cartoons in the Hindi film. I think the funniest of the Hindi films are the tragic ones, where the hero, before he dies, he bursts into song and takes a long time to die if he's shot. Now that sort of thing, and I think it can be quite funny. Or he'll still run around the tree chasing the heroine, and before he pops off, before he dies, or something like that.
While Mario enjoys drawing an endless chain of cartoons only to make people laugh, he seriously feels that Indians have a queer sense of humor.
The Indians tend to laugh at others. We laugh at politicians. We're always making fun of politicians, of people who are in power. But we seem to avoid laughing at ourselves. Indians can be a very funny people, actually. We have so many foibles, we have so many, our behavior, attitude, our features, everything. There's so much scope for making fun of an Indian. When I say making fun, I don't mean being cruel, but laughing at myself, for example. I mean, that is what we lack at the moment. We're not concentrating too much on the social life, which has so much to offer.
Cartooning on social life? But what about the scope for that?
India has the scope for with an enormous country, and there's so much happening, so much variety of people. And I think we should make use of that humor, which exists, which has not been displayed. But it is there. You see it in the villages, you see it everywhere. The kind of humor, it does exist. But we are still very, as I said earlier, very touchy about laughing at our own faults. Humor should not be cruel. one. You shouldn't make fun of people, but one should laugh with someone, not at someone, but with someone.
Goan way of life, the rich culture and tradition of his native land, inspired Mario to do a book of his sketches on Goan life titled Goa with Love by Mario.
You see, Goa has a tradition of its own. Goa has a culture of its own, and that sort of thing, it has a heritage of its own, as far as architecture and environment and everything. And that is the image which should be projected to the outsider, not just beaches and sun. You get better beaches in Kerala, or for that matter in Kerala and Mangalore, beautiful beaches. But in Goa, it is the environment which makes it more attractive. This kind of a mixture of Indo-Portuguese culture which existed in Goa, it still exists today, but is disappearing very fast. The music, the food, and the dress, and the behavior. This is what should be preserved, I think, carefully. Otherwise, Goa is going to be just wiped out. It will be a thing of the past. They're projecting Goa as a sort of paradise on earth, but actually, I don't think it is. On the contrary, I visited other countries and I see how fast they're developing, but nothing is happening here. We seem to be going in various directions and all are the wrong directions. We've taken things for granted, and it is sad. If you allow a certain way of life to just fade away.
Mario is deeply concerned with the gradually vanishing environment and slowly disappearing heritage and tradition of Goa. He has a few suggestions to save the situation.
Well, to begin with, the cleanliness of the cities and the roads. You know, if they want a large traffic of tourists coming in, the infrastructure should be good. The roads should be looked after properly. The environment should be protected. And now, so for example, they've suddenly discovered that lots of tourists come for bird watching. Now, if they go on cutting trees, there will be no birds to watch. Things like that, you know, today or still is, the natural beauty, that is what is important. There is heritage, there is monuments, but it's all been neglected.
Keeping aloof from this changing phase of Goa, here is a beautiful ancestral place, rich in typical Goan heritage and tradition, so carefully preserved over the past 300 years. The credit of developing, decorating, and maintaining this mansion in such an aesthetic splendor goes to Mrs. Habiba and the support she gets from her husband Mario, as well as from all other family members. Mario's talents have influenced and inspired his children also to become artists in their own stature. Mario's talents and accomplishments have been highly recognized internationally and have been profusely rewarded and honored with an endless array of titles he showered upon. Back home, Mario was awarded with Padma Shri Award by the Government of India in 1988 and with Padma Bhushan Award in 2002. Today, Mrs. Habiba Miranda is a proud and happy wife to see her husband getting honored with the coveted Padma Bhushan Award by the President of India.
Well, I'm very proud that the award was given to my husband because I think he rightly deserves it. And frankly, when they rang up and asked him if he would accept it, I couldn't believe that this was happening. And that the government at last was recognizing his talent. You know, I had heard about this house long before I got married, and I could feel the love my husband had for this house. And I felt that if in any small way I could do something for him, would be to do up this house. And since I had no other occupation, I thought this is as good an occupation as any other. And it was a great challenge because we inherited this house absolutely empty. So we had to start literally from scratch. So every stick of furniture and every painting and every picture that you see here has all been collected by us and put up. Of course, I inherited a lot of my mother's paintings. I inherited some furniture from my parents. But a lot of it, the bulk of it, we had to buy. Well, my daughter-in-law takes a lot of interest. My son took a lot of interest. My daughter-in-law came in recently, meaning about 3 years ago. But my son has been here longer. I mean, he's been here for how many years has he been here? About 7 years. He took a lot of interest. My older son, who's in America, also took a lot of interest. And it's by and large a family thing, you know. Every one of the family has contributed something towards this house. Well, both my sons draw beautifully. And I have a feeling that my grandson Raphael will also start drawing because he's already started. Every time he sees Mario, he wants to sit on his lap and he wants to draw. Right now it's just circles and squiggles, but I'm sure that he'll develop that. And nobody has forced any of my children, or Mario for that matter. His mother never forced him to draw. It's just something that came to them. I wish I had a quarter of that talent, which I don't.
Ever since he went on Gulbenkian Scholarship to Lisbon in 1959, and there are a few places that impressed him a lot.
From the point of view of cities, I think New York is very, very alive. And Paris is rich in history, and there's a lot of scope for pen and ink drawings. A lot of things happening in the streets, which is different from whatever you see anywhere else. London is another place which I like, and I found Israel very rich, and Egypt also very rich for sketching. You know, people, monuments, and all that kind of stuff. It's fantastic. There's so much to sketch. As far as India is concerned, I think Goa and Hyderabad offer you a lot of scope for drawing. And Bombay I lived in Bombay for a number of years, and there's always plenty of material for somebody who wants to sketch and draw.
Cartoonist Mario enjoys to draw and sketch eternally, and his long journey in quest of beauty and perfection continues.